schools my entire life. I was born in Guatemala and I came to the United States when I was 2 years old with my mother. This fall I'll be attending the University of Maryland, College Park. I'm majoring in communication, and with many scholarship essays, applications, and blessings, I will not be paying a dime. I was also very active in my school, my community, and in my church. I won't read you my entire resume, but I'll just name a few things. I was a page in the House of Delegates in Annapolis. This past winter, I organized bill books, attended sessions, did whatever errands that the delegates needed done. So I also played soccer and softball. I was class president and the president of the first chapter of the National Honor Society at my school. So basically that's a little bit about me. I hope that as new teachers you will help start up new clubs, advise clubs that are currently ongoing, and just encourage students to join any extracurricular activities that interest them. With my internship at TFA, I had the opportunity to spend a week in DC at the Bank of America Student Leader Summit. One of the guest speakers was Wes Moore, and if you haven't read his book, The Other Wes Moore, I highly suggest you reading it before you start teaching, while you're teaching, give it as a reading assignment, bring it to the contract signing. So Wes Moore grew up in Baltimore City, and later in life, he heard a story of another man named Wes Moore, who grew up in the same area with the same name, similar living situations, and similar circumstances. The difference between them is that the other Wes Moore is serving a life sentence in prison on the charge of first-degree murder, while this Wes Moore is apparently successful. More importantly than anything any book can teach is what Wes's mother told him once. The kids have to think that you care before they care what you think. I'm going to say it again. The kids have to think that you care before they care what you think. Being a teacher should be more than just a job. It's the opportunity to let your students know that you care about them even when they think that no one else is there that cares about them. As teachers, you will spend the majority of the students' days with them, so use every second of it. For some students, you'll be the only role model they've ever had. For some students, you'll be the closest adult that they have in their lives. For some students, school is their safety zone. The realities of your students' lives may travel to the classrooms, so like Wes's mother said, it's important to make sure your kids know that you care. I believe that the things that are lacking in some Baltimore City students are drive and motivation. A lot of students cannot fathom the benefits of an education, and they're not completely to blame because they haven't been exposed to them. As their teachers, you have the power to expose them to the outcome of attaining a college degree. In my case, I had my mother motivating me. My mom had to stop going to school when she was 12 so she could work as a maid in another city so she could provide for her family. In Guatemala, education costs money after 5th grade, but since it's a poverty-stricken country, not many families can afford to send their children to school. In the United States, everyone is guaranteed a free public education, but some people do not take advantage of that. Help your students find their driving force and go to college and set goals for their lives. Sometimes people just need that extra push so they can get the ball rolling. Again, you'll be spending the most time with your students, so use that time to make a difference. In relation to making a difference, I have a short story to share. It's from the book called The Star Thrower, and some of you may have heard it already. So once upon a time, there was a wise man who used to go to the ocean to do his writing. He had a habit of walking on the beach before he began his work. One day, a man was walking along the beach. When he looked down and he saw the man, he was moving like a human figure, but like a dancer. At this, he thought of how amazing it was that someone could dance to the day, and so he walked faster to catch up. As he got closer, he noticed that the figure was that of a young man, and that what he was doing was not dancing at all. The young man was reaching down to the shore, picking up small objects, and throwing them into the ocean. He came closer still and called out, "Good morning. May I ask what it is that you are doing?" The young man paused, looked up, and replied, "Throwing starfish into the ocean." "I must ask then, why are you throwing starfish into the ocean?" asked the somewhat startled wise man. To this, the young man replied, "The sun is up and the tide is going down. If I don't throw them in, they'll die." Upon hearing this, the wise man commented, "But young man, do you not realize that there are miles and miles of beach and there are starfish all along every mile? You can't possibly make a difference." At this, the young man bent down, picked up yet another starfish, and threw it into the ocean. As I met the water, he said, I made a difference to that one. Some of you may feel like you're not helping enough at times. I know I feel like that all the time. But you have to think that making a difference in one classroom is exponential. Most of the time, you won't see the difference right away. You have to wait until one of your students from 6 years ago comes back to tell you that they just finished college and you're the person that showed them a better path in life. That feeling right there, the feeling of seeing the finished product of your work, is beyond amazing. In the beginning, I mentioned a teacher who gave us vocabulary tests every Friday. Ms. Middleton's class was one of my favorite classes throughout high school. We would start our classes with analyzing words and their derivatives, which helped me improve upon my vocabulary significantly. After our vocabulary tests on Fridays, we would have group discussions on different topics affecting the world. We would debate with one another, we would talk about it with each other, and ultimately we would write an essay on our discussions. Incorporating many different styles of teaching into her classroom made learning fun. Not only was she intellectual, but she also had a great personality. She started a mentoring program at my school so that each student in her senior class would be paired with a student in her freshman class. And they really helped us out a lot. I think it was great because we had someone showing the freshies around the school. We had them giving us advice and just teaching us things that we wouldn't know as freshmen coming in. Some more highlights of her class were making her hip with our lingo, making fun or mocking her southern accent, the inside jokes we made as a class, and of course all the knowledge we gained. Last week I actually found out that Ms. Middleton was a TFA Corps member. Because she had to move back to Louisiana, I hadn't spoken with Ms. Middleton since my freshman year, even though my friends and I always talk about her class and our fond memories of it. I finally found her on Facebook, great website, and we were both glad to finally hear from each other. Each of you can make the same difference in your students' lives. Ultimately, I want you to remember to never give up. When you feel like you're failing as a teacher or that every lesson you plan doesn't work, remember that all great people fail. And I'm missing the last page, but there's a line in there, it's a quote from Thomas Edison, and he says, I realized that I'm not a failure, but I just found 10,000 ways that don't work, something of that sort. So just remember that you can really make a difference in these students' lives, and you can make an impact. So no matter what the day brings you, just keep your heads up, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you all somewhere in the news one day, making a huge difference. And good luck.